Welcome to the iMPACT in Charlotte podcast, where we believe you need to show up to go up, grow yourself to grow your business and your community. In each episode, we highlight a member of iiCharlotte, share their story, and talk impact. Today's guest is Jarod Latch. Thanks for joining us, Jarod. Jarod is a former journalist and co-founder of Spiracle Media, a video content agency founded in 2011 by three former sports anchors here in Charlotte. Thanks for joining us, Jarod.
Hey, Dave. Absolutely. Excited to do it.
Yeah, well, we, as you know, on this podcast, we talk about entrepreneurship. And so I just want to start by kind of getting a sense from you as somebody who entered the work world as a journalist and cared about sports, kind of what started the entrepreneurial journey for you?
You know, Dave, it's interesting because what we started in is not where we are today. But I spent about 9 years in television as a sports anchor and reporter early in my career, which seems like a lifetime ago at this point. And I was lucky enough to meet and become good friends with one of my fellow co-founders in Tim Bear. And we lived together and we talked about essentially what was next. And we had another co-founder at the time, Bill Voth, who, as you mentioned, we had three former sports anchors that worked in the Charlotte market. And we saw social media as a big opportunity, especially when it came to athletes leveraging their brands, giving them ability to allure sponsors, get money for tweets, and all the stuff that eventually happened. We were trying to stay on the front end of that. So we decided to hatch the idea of Spiracle Media, and we were working with social media for athletes. And that's where we started. And then about a year or two in, and to mention, we had Stephen Curry as one of our first partners in that space. Ricky Barron's an Olympic swimmer as well. A couple of years into the fold, our third partner, Bill, decided that he still had the journalist itch. He went back and is now working for the Carolina Panthers in their digital department. But for us, we made a pivot to all video storytelling. It was something that we grew with, that we'd done for a long time in our journalistic career. We also understood the technology side of it and the online presence part. So all these things sort of came together, and that's essentially how we built this team since 2013. And a lot of the members of our team are former journalists. So that was really the point for me at the very beginning, that we saw there was an opportunity with these athletes that we already had connections with, and that was where the trend was going. And I always tell people that we were fortunate that we grew with that curve, because when we were in TV, the first thing was filing your story and making air, but then it was also, okay, update the website in written form. Then it was add video to the website. Then it was tweet, add things to Facebook. So we were just immersed in where things were going. And I think that was served as a big catalyst for getting things started and setting a really strong foundation for where we are today.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. It's an interesting transition starting in social media. Obviously, most people know Steph Curry's name, especially in these parts. But you mentioned a couple things in there, and I know as a journalist, a significant part of that, right, is storytelling and kind of capturing content. But you also mentioned the video piece. So, give me a little bit tell me how you see video as a platform, as a service to your clients. Like, how does that help them tell that story?
Well, Dave, we always tell people that we are about story first. You could classify us sometimes as a marketing agency, but we say we're a video content agency, as you mentioned in the beginning. And we think video is such a significant part of any effort. We've always been posed with the question of which vertical do you guys play into, or which bucket has the most partners, which we call our clients. And we used to say that content can't fit in a box. So we talk to our partners about all the different ways that they can tell a story. What type of content can they produce that's going to impact their audience? Where does your audience live? What kind of behaviors do they have? Do they want to watch short videos or long videos? And again, what platforms are they going to be on? So we try to take a really thorough approach, but I think that story first mentality is the most important part for us, because we really, really feel that in such a crowded space, there are a lot of people that can shoot beautiful video, but there's only a handful of people that can tell a story well. And we think that that's where we positioned ourselves well, and how we talk to our partners is that we feel that we need to come in there, have a really good plan on the front end, but then also have this sort of innate ability to ask the right questions, to get to the heart of the story, to change directions if we need to. And we don't want to really be a check the box mentality. And we try to impart that onto our partners as well and say, hey, we can start off with something, but we might uncover something on the way there. And I think that's where the journalistic roots come in, because then you're able to pounce on that, for lack of a better word, and take that story and get something that's still centered around the core of what you wanted to say, but makes it even better. So video is applicable in so many different ways, in so many areas of the business. Storytelling, as we've heard as a buzzword over the last couple of years, is really king. Video is king. So you have to have that plan on the front end, but then you have to find the application and match that with your audience. And from there, you can find a lot of success, and you can find great value in that investment.
Yeah. No, the power of story, especially as I kind of refer to it as the connection economy. I think folks want to have a relationship with whoever it is that they're purchasing from, partnering with, vendors, whatever it is. Like, we want to have that relationship. And obviously video is a great way to do that. Story is as Ann Linnea says, it's the shortest distance between two people.
I think it's a great point, Dave, when you talk about what else we tell to our partners real quick is when you're looking for a testimonial, the most powerful thing is to have others talk about you rather than you talk about yourself. And I think that's, I wouldn't say a tectonic shift, but a big shift in the minds of internal marketing departments. Before it was, let's feed them what we think they want to hear, instead of, okay, allow them to see people that look like them and the value they're getting from utilizing your service or your product.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of went there. I was going to ask, well, what makes a good story, right? Like, so if you're working with these, and you're kind of guiding them through the story process, what in your eyes makes kind of the best story?
The best stories are the ones that resonate with individuals because they can attach to the characters. And like I touched on, it wasn't to steal or jump ahead on your thunder there. It is to find these characters that others can see themselves in. If you're a service company and you pride yourself on offering something of value, you want to show individuals that have used that service and how it's transformed the way they either do business or live their life on a day-to-day basis. That's what people want to see. The same way for a product. You want to see how your product is making someone else's life better. And it just becomes more authentic when that can be told through the eyes and the voice of the consumer of your service or product, rather than you just projecting out, hey, we're great, we're phenomenal, we offer a tremendous service. It's much better for somebody else to say that for you. And then from a storytelling standpoint, it is those characters. And I would say one of the most important things to do is tackle one story at a time. We find it all the time where some of our partners struggle. They want to throw in the entire kitchen sink. They want to put everything into this piece. You've got to believe in the power of the singular story, because that will have more impact than if you try to cloud something with all these different topics, because it's harder then for the viewer to attach and to take away anything if you're telling them too much. So power of singular story, and have people speak to what you're doing through the eyes of your consumer.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful message. I mean, as somebody who has on many times tried to tell my own company story, you're kind of swimming in all the different things you could say. And so you just, it's almost kind of like a verbal dumping of like, here's all the stories that I can think of. Did any of them land? As opposed to, did I tell that one story really well? And you earlier that I think is interesting. You talked about when you were a journalist, it was like, well, you capture the airtime, and then you got to do some written content on the website, and then you got to put a video on the website, and then you've got to do Twitter, right? So about like when you tell that singular story, video is a significant part of it, but how do you make that story come alive?
Yeah, in order to make that story come alive, it's about emotion. And what is tied to Spiracle Media right now is our mission, our vision is to evoke emotion by creating and telling stories. That's it. It's very simply that. And this emotion can be bringing somebody to tears. This emotion that you want the viewer to walk away with can be something that encourages them, inspires them, motivates them to give money, whatever it is. But it's that emotion that you have to bottle up. If somebody's watching a flat story, that's exactly what it is. It's going to fall flat, but you need a reaction from your audience. So that's why the character development in a way is so important in the singular nature of the story, so they can see themselves in that character. They can feel the same sorts of emotion, and they can walk away with it and be motivated to do something. So in terms of a successful story, it is prompting an action by the viewer. Again, whether they cry, whether they want to write a big check after they see it, whether they want to reach out and volunteer to help a cause, that's how I would deem success in terms of a story. It's that subsequent action that's taken after the viewer watches it.
Yeah, nice. Thanks, Jarod. I want to. I've been noticing the Davidson symbol on your jacket. I know that in addition to the entrepreneur that you are with Spiracle Media, you do some other things on the side. You want to talk a little bit about kind of your connection to Davidson, and as we all are, like, we have lives outside of our entrepreneurial endeavor. So, touch on that for me for a minute, if you would.
Sure. I figured that it wasn't busy enough being an entrepreneur, so I stay on the Davidson side as well. But when I was in local television, working for both Channel 9 in Charlotte, WC and CTV, we had the connection to covering Davidson. We covered Steph Curry on the magical run in 2008 when they almost got to the Final Four. And that's how we got on board with Steph after that. So that was the first connection to Davidson, was just being a part of it. And then around 2013, a good friend of mine, Joey Bueller, who's the sports information director at the school, he said that they were looking for somebody to potentially slide into the radio. And radio play-by-play, out of all the television stuff I had done, was always my favorite. I started in play-by-play in minor league baseball for a number of years. I did some football, basketball, lacrosse, a lot of different play-by-play. And that had always resonated with me most. So I got excited about it. And I said, yes, I know a guy. And that guy was me. So I had a conversation with the current rights holder at the time. And he said, hey, do you have any recent stuff? And I really did within 7 or 8 years. But I was able to talk him into giving me a shot. And a couple of years ago, I was named the radio voice of the Davidson Wildcats men's basketball team. And so I do the full slate of games, which is amazing. I love traveling with the team, being with coach and his assistant coaches and the players, and having that relationship. Such a tremendous program in the Atlantic 10. And that keeps me going. The first couple of years I was filling in play-by-play and serving as analyst. And as I mentioned a couple of years ago, I took on the full slate. It was really neat. At the end of, well, not last season, because we ended abruptly with the pandemic and no games in the conference tournament. But the year before, I sat there at the end of the year and I thought, what is really cool is that I have called every single play of the season. And it kind of hit me that I'd watched every single thing happen in the context of the season. And that was pretty neat. And I love to do it. It's the fact that we have a great team at Spiracle that allows me to go away. It can be pretty draining, come February and March, when you get into the heart of conference season and we're on flights back and forth, and sometimes 2 away games in a week. And then you hit conference tournament, and if it's a great year, you go to the NCAA tournament. So I've had the privilege of calling 2 games in the NCAA tournament. But yeah, that's my connection right now. I don't lose the sports broadcasting element, so I get to do both, and I am tremendously thankful that I get to do those two and balance it all out.
Yeah. Well, and there's power in diversification of effort, right? Like being able to kind of stay connected to that radio piece, stay connected to the sports world. I'm sure there's information that gets shared across both ways, right? Like the work that you do with Spiracle Media enhances your ability to do radio and play-by-play and vice versa, right? Like there's a lot of power in that. And so, obviously, a significant part of this is we're all connected to the iiCharlotte community. If you can just talk a little bit as an entrepreneur about what it means and the importance of, connecting to other business leaders, not necessarily through iiCharlotte, but just connecting to other business leaders and how that serves you as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's really easy. It's essential fuel to keep you propelled moving forward. Because as a business owner, we've all heard the cliche that you're on an island, and it's really true. No one truly understands what you do on a day-to-day basis unless you're a fellow business owner. And it's nice when you have challenges come up, or even opportunities, to share that in a room and hear people echo the same sentiment. There is a lot of power in hearing others say, you know what, I've got the same issue. Even if you don't have an immediate resolution or solution to that challenge, just to hear somebody else say, yeah, I'm dealing with the same thing. We have the same people issues, or we're facing the same hurdles that are coming about because we're growing at a really fast pace. So that is a just such a critical part. You need to have a support system. I'm thankful for the founding members and iiCharlotte and being a part of this organization, because it's just another avenue where we can get together, we can share ideas. Ideas and knowledge sharing is as important as networking, or I should say exponentially more important than doing business in that sense. When you have a really strong group of people that you feel confident in, that you can say, hey guys, I'm going to be vulnerable right now, and I'm going to say, hey, I've got this problem. I don't know what to do with it. And that's, I think, where successful entrepreneurs move that much forward, is when they can sit there, they can be vulnerable, they can admit that they don't know everything, because none of us do. And the most successful ones continue to want to learn, and they want to have conversations, and they want to share knowledge, and they're open to listening. And that's what a group like this does, for a variety of reasons. But you can't put a value on it. When you find a group of people that you can lean on and that have common problems and totally understand where you're at, you can't really quantify that.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Jarod. I appreciate it. We are fastly approaching the final 30 seconds. And so in the final 30 seconds, we like to give our members an opportunity to do a 30-second pitch. So you are welcome to just 30 seconds on whatever you want to talk about, and then we'll wrap the show from there.
Sure. I'd add for the 30 seconds, Spiracle Media, as mentioned before, is a video content agency. Here in Charlotte, we like to say we're built to tell stories because of the foundation we've set with former journalists. And we like our people to be multifaceted in terms of being on the shoot and bringing that project to completion. We have a story-first mentality, very organized. And, we're always trying to make sure that we deliver and hit timelines. And we're always looking to innovate, expand our services based on everything coming under this core umbrella of storytelling. With our aerial video and photography, live stream has been a big thing that has had even more value given the situation we're in, and now in podcast production. So if there's any content that individuals just want to talk about, they want to brainstorm about, we're happy to do that at a consultative level as well. I think there's no more exciting time than now when it comes to content and video content specifically. And there's a solution out there for your business, and there's a place to apply it effectively. And in my position, when we evaluate things, we want to make sure that our partners walk away with value, no matter what they're doing. It's not a one-time engagement. It's a partnership. It's a relationship-driven partnership on our end.
Thanks, Jarod. Thanks for being our guest today. Really appreciate your time, and I'm grateful to know you, and I'm grateful to be connected to you as a fellow business leader. I can't say enough about how grateful I am for that connection. I've learned a lot from you, and hopefully vice versa. So thank you for your time. We are going to wrap here, and here we go. Thanks to our guest, Jarod, today for joining us. We got to learn a lot about Spiracle Media, about storytelling, the importance of story. We also got to hear a little bit about the importance of following Davidson Basketball. You can check that out as well. I know you can find Jarod and his team on spiraclemedia.com. The place, or spiracle.com if that's a place you'd like to connect. Thanks for listening to the iMPACT in Charlotte podcast, where we believe you need to show up to go up, grow yourself to grow your business and your community. If you want to learn more about Charlotte, visit iiCharlotte.com. And remember that impact begins with II. Thanks, everybody, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.